Good evening, everyone doing today. God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Sarah Michelle Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you some news on today. And the title gonna be Bang Drag. Liberatory democracy bang drag. The drag queen. They wants to bang them. State legislature, across the country are trying to bang drags, in certain setting. So first they have to define it. So they're trying to ban them, but first they have to define the reason on why you want to ban. So now this is someone in power, who wants to shut down drags performance, shows all across the nation. Cause they do shows. There's some of them actors. So they're trying to shut that down all across the nation. So the Republican political are struggling to define it. They're still trying to define it. They have to have a reason of why they want to ban it. So you want to shut down something that you cannot find anything wrong or what they're doing. So they want to shut them down, but they can't find anything or no reason to shut it down. So drag queen are performers, that who are dressed as feminine person with glamorous and extraordinary costume, and makeup. So the purpose of the drag queen show, with bold costume, makeup, and character drag, type into their humor. They have a good sense of humor. They fun people. They play. Some are very creative and an actor. Some are models. So drag or creator actor a powerful and personal form of self-expression. So Republican landmaker, you know, in at least 16 states. So they have like in 16 states, have received it, introduced, bills, so they wrote out the bill, to try to ban drag. And they done went through like 16 states already, you know, trying to ban these shows, you, you know, um, and under certain condition, you know, like a public spaces, or when children are in the audience, so they're trying to find their piece, to try to put it together as a defined, so they're trying to put all the pieces together to try to shut their shows down. So this bill introduced in Arizona defining performers that who dresses in clothing and makeup the opposite of their gender and birth to extraordinary gender enroll and engage in signing, singing, and dancing. So they don't want them singing, they don't want them dancing, they don't want them to perform. I mean, they're not harming no one but performing. You know, a monologue. So even opera. So they can't do none of these things. So Arizona, that's their own trying to define in these reasons right here. We consider drags, and they say in comedy it's banned like this, even in Constitution. So State Center, working on some amendments to bill because the indefinition is problematic. So Senator Jones is one of the sponsors of that bill from Arizona. So that's what the bill is for Arizona. They don't want them singing, they don't want them dancing, they don't want them to do anything. So which would ban state funding, from being used for any drag performance. So they don't wanna fund anything that they have anything to do with. So they don't want to perform in front of the children. I'm quite sure the places that they perform in, children would not be there. So my bill of proposal, drag performance. So state legislature, and Republic political, they are struggling to define drag, trying to find something, to shut them down, So they're concerned about the children. We are concerned about the children. What I think, if young ones is in the audience, the age limit should change. The age should be 20 years on up for to be in their audience to see them perform. Anything less than 20 years old shouldn't be in the atmosphere of where they're performing at. So what I'm fond of, drag performance to remain. I don't have no problem with it. As long as they're respectful of what they're doing, and no children is not under 20 years old, I'm okay with it. So one, long as you are very respectful, while you're performing, and dress appropriately for your audience. Because you never know who is sitting in the audience. So two, long as you conduct yourself, at the beginning to the end of your show. So this is things that I'm fine of. So three, no sexual act while performance. So four, I do not have no problem of drag actors or either performers. So this is so state legislature introducing the bill that seeks to impose restriction. They're constantly trying to find restriction. They're trying to define it. They're trying to find every little thing to shut it down. So they're targeting the LGBTQ community. Something that could very likely become a dramatic issue as they heard into 2024 election. So this is all across the nation. All across the nation, because a lot of them, they perform all across the world. So I am fine. I'm fine. A drag performance. I don't have no problem with it. As long as it's respectful, honest, dress appropriate. You never know who's in the audience. I'm fine with it. So I request that drag remain performance and acting, all over the nation. Because some of them is actors, some of them is dancers, some of them is models, some of them perform. I want them to continue doing whatever suit them of their career, because some of this stuff is their career. So I request that drag queen remain performance or acting. So all across the nation. Long as they conduct themselves, and very respectful, I'm fine. I block anyone who tried to bang and shut them down. Because all of they have a career like everyone else. Long as they're respectful of what they're doing, not doing no harm, because some of it is very creative. Some of it is real good in what they do. So let them have their career, long as they're not being disrespectful, and very appropriate of what they're doing. They're not doing no harm at all. So I request for them to remain. Remain performance, remain acting wherever your career is all across the nation. So now I want to talk to you about and now I have a word for you. Bible study. The coveting renewed at my Abel. So now Joshua, it's going to come from Joshua chapter 8, verse 30 to 34. So now Joshua and the Israelites had conquered their land, and now it's time for blessing and cursing. So Joshua had built on Mount Abel an altar to the Lord, to God of Israel. As Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites. Because see, when Moses was here, Moses was writing all the, he would write some songs. He wrote a lot of commands that God had instructed him to do. And he had to pass all of it on to Joshua. So Joshua had to make sure, that Israel, that he read everything to the Israelites. Because they're supposed to be represented to them before they get into the land. So now they have Joshua leading them, and he burnt, he built it according to what is written in the book of the law of Moses. So an altar of uncut stone, on which no iron tools had been used. So that we see that Joshua are still respecting Moses, making sure that the Israelites keep the commandment, what's written in the book of the law of Moses. So now they offer burnt offering and sacrifices to the Lord and fellowship offering. So in the presence of the Israelite. Joshua, now he got the book of the law. He about to read it to all of them. So he in the presence of all the Israelites. Now Joshua wrote on the stone. Now he was writing on the stone. When I told you about the stone, he was writing on the stone, making a copy of the law of Moses. Because you know how they break stuff. To keep him had to keep making another one. He made a copy. So all the Israelites with the elders, officials, and judges is standing on both sides of the altar. Of the art of the covenant of the law, facing Levitical priests, who carry, the priest is the only one to carry their art. So both of the friends living among them and bound where they are. So when Joshua had wrote on the stone to make a copy of the law, of Moses, he made sure everyone was present. That's how God do. And you see they're picking up. When God had blessed David, all the brothers had to be lined up right there. When God had honored Joshua, he made sure all of them was lined up right there. So we see Joshua doing the same thing. He making sure all of them is lined up right there. Everyone is present. But half of the people is at Mount Gerizim. So they're somewhere else. But you got the half of the Israelite is right there by Joshua. So as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had formally commanded when he gave instruction to bless the people of Israel, now we see that they still haven't let Moses go. They loved Moses. I mean, they give Moses a hard time. And sometimes people don't realize how much they love you until they gone. They give Moses a hard time, but they loved Moses. So they are still following his instruction, which is good. We also see half of the Israelites was not present, to receive the instruction for the blessing. Because Moses wrote this up, to give the blessing before they enter into the, when they enter into their land. So afterwards, Joshua read all the words of the law, the blessing and the curse. A lot of times it seems like you blessed, but seem like you got a curse right behind it. So this a blessing and a curse. So just as it is written in the book of the law. So now this book of the law, blessings and curses, there was not a word that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read. Joshua made sure he read everything was in that book that Moses had written down. So the whole assembly, of Israel, including the women, the children, even the foreign people in the strange land, among them, who live among them, they all heard. Joshua wanted all of them to be there to hear. So now we see that Joshua read this book of the law to everyone. Children, women, foreign people that's in the land. He wanted to make sure everyone here what Moses had wrote down in his book. Because this is for the Israelites when they entered their land. Blessing and curses. So Moses, the man who speaks with God, he was real close with God. He saw and witnessed so much stuff that no one else did. So Moses was the man who speak with God face to face. A man that speak with God. They was like friends. They used to sit at the table and eat together. Remember I put that out? They used to sit together, eat together. But God had, Moses saw like his back or sometimes his side of his face. But God never sit directly in front of them. But they ate together, to talk with each other by the burning bush. God always talked to Moses to give him instruction for the Israelites. So even his own sister got jealous. So Joshua is called by God to lead, because Moses had to depart. So we see that Joshua honored Moses' legacy. Joshua fulfilled, the details, the instruction, of Moses that give the Israelites for their entrance into the promised land. He did just as Moses had wrote down. You remember, he was right under Moses. He know what Moses wrote down. He know exactly what Moses wanted the Israelites to happen when they enter into that land. He built an altar, for worship according to the instruction of God had given through Moses. and he offered the prescribed sacrifices that he copied on the stone. So that's something. He copied. You know, everything that was on that altar, he copied and put it on the stone. So the law of Moses, and then before the people he ran, the words of the law emphasize both blessing and curses. So Moses had blessing, he had curses. Because the Israelite with a stiff neck, people. So on the next package you're gonna see that Joshua gonna put a curse on someone. That curse gonna come from way from no other time. So this curse gonna go a long way. And see, that's why they say a lot of time you got to break that generation curse. Because sometimes you don't be knowing why, just like me, you don't be knowing why you're going through this here. Why sometimes it be a curse from way back in your generation. And that's why they say you got to be strong and hang on in there, because you got to break them curses that from your generation had did. That's just like this generation with the Israelites. They had to suffer and run around for 40 years because their ancestors were stiff necks, being disobedient to God. And they had to carry on their sin. And sometimes that's how he be. Your generation did voodoo or curses or whatever they did, sometimes it trans over into the next generation. So on the stone, the law of Moses, and then before the people he read, the words of the law emphasize both blessing and cursing. So when these acts, Joshua honor. See, Joshua honor Moses, direction, and God authority as he leads the people into the future. So in a leader, who is great, that's why we need to honor them while they on earth, while they still living. You got great leaders, honor them and their legacy. So we have a generation that you have to take life day by day. You have to take it day by day. So that's why we got good leaders now. We have to give them praise. We have to honor them, recognize them while they're here. And we appreciate their legacy. So now we talk about this news drag queen. They're trying to stop them from performing all over the world, all over the nation. They're not doing no harm, but performing. Some of it is their career. So that's their career. Some of them is models, actors, singer, dancing, and some of it is good performance. So I had said long as, you know, they dress properly, and less, and if they're doing a good performance and being respectful as a conduct themselves as a good entertainment, and I don't see what they're doing in the home. So I had said I'm fine with them performing. I don't have no problem as long as they're keeping everything in perspective. So long as they conduct themselves, do not have, any problem with them with acting or a lot of them have careers. A lot of them have careers. You got a lot of them acting. So they don't want to see them on stage performing at all. Just trying to shut them down completely. So I'm trying to shut them down completely. And I had requests. I had requests that they remain performing or whatever they need to perform at. Whatever state this at. It's all over the nation. This is all over the nation. I am fine and I block anyone who tries to bang and shut them down. I request that the drag queen remain performance and actor whatever their career are. So that's we talk about the drag queen performance, that they're trying to shut down. They're not doing no harm at all because most of them that's their career, singing and dancing. So we talk about the word. We talk about the covenant of the renew. Joshua had to read the command from Moses, what Moses had written down. you know, for the blessing and the cursing. You know, this is for them when they enter their land. So and then you had then you had Joshua made sure everyone ready. You know, even the foreign people that was in the land. You know, the children, you know, the women. You know, he made sure everyone was around, but you know, half of them wasn't. But he made sure most of them was there. And we see that Joshua had honored Moses' legacy. You know, he wanted to make sure everyone was standing around because this is what Moses was supposed to do. So he still honored Moses like he was still here. You know, and he made sure he read everything was written down, what Moses had written down, and made sure the Israelite and everyone else that will listen that hear everything, that Moses had written down. You know, so it's like Moses not here, but they're still honoring Moses, still love Moses. You know, so these acts of Joshua honoring Moses, direction, God authority as he leads the people to the future. You know, so that's all I have for you today. We talk about the word and we had some news, you know. So I see you on the next video. Y'all have a blessed and safe day.